All right, my friends, welcome to another video lesson. This lesson will be the first in a series of 3 about doing chroma key, masking, and using effects. In the first part, we're going to be discussing the chroma key portion, and we'll be doing this using green screen, the most common form of chroma key work there is. So basically what we're going to be doing here, if I twirl down my media bin, we're going to be going from this right here, which is not the greatest green screen setup I've ever seen, believe me, to this here. So we'll remove all of this green area behind our interview subject here. We're going to be doing that with an effect called the Ultra Key. And then in the next video, we'll be getting rid of the other things that are surrounding him here, the edge of this light, the edge of this pole up here, and the edge of the green screen itself with a process called masking. And then we'll be replacing the background behind him with different images and using a couple of different effects on them to sort of soften and dim the background a bit to make our subject stand out a little bit more. So let's get started with the first part, the chroma key portion. So I'm going to close this sequence here, and you can see the timeline here, which is the same one that you're going to have when you download the media for the UTry assignment for this. I've got 2 1-second black chunks here. If I use my / key, you can see each of them 1 second long. These are the black that need to be at the beginning and end of the sequence. And we're going to take our interview and put it in between them. How are we going to do that? That's right, you guessed it, insert edit. So we're going to take the entire clip, which is only just under 32 seconds long here, and we want to put it in between these 2 seconds of black, and we want to put this clip on the second track, on the second video track, because we're going to need to put something behind our interview subject on video track 1 once we remove the green screen and all the other stuff in the shot. So I'm going to use my down arrow to get in between the 2 clips here. And I'm going to patch V1 to V2. And then I'm going to place an in point here in the timeline. And because I'm going to use the entire clip up here, I don't have to worry about an in and an out on my source. And I'm going to edit this down using the shortcut for insert edit, which is the comma key. Boom, there it is. In between our 2 seconds of black. Perfect. Great. All right, so I'm going to get rid of him from the source monitor here. And the first thing we're going to do in this process is select the clip and go to our effects panel here and search for an effect called the Ultra Key. So I'm just going to type Ultra, and there it is, the Ultra Key. I'm going to drag that onto the clip. And magically, nothing happens. Because as you know, with many effects in Premiere, you have to manipulate the controls to make things happen. So I'm going to go up to the effect controls here. Clip is selected. You can see the Ultra Key has been applied. And what I want to do, first of all, is tell Premiere which color I want to remove with this effect. It defaults to black. I'm going to click on the eyedropper here. I'm going to cruise over to kind of a nice light area of green here and select that as the sample of the color that I want to remove. Boom, there it is. Now you can see what was green is now black. And it's very important that you understand what's happening here. And one of the best ways to do that is to look at the output. Right now, we're looking at the composite, which is the video itself with all of its elements. If I hit the down arrow on this and I go to alpha channel, you can actually see what is being removed here and what hasn't been. Everything that is white, a very light in shade here, is what will not allow anything to pass through from the background, okay? From whatever we put underneath here on video 1. Everything that is deep gray and black here will allow video to pass through to one degree or another. The darker it is, the cleaner the key will be, and the more video will pass through from the background. which in this case is video level 1, whatever we put there. Right now there's nothing there, so it shows as black. So what I want to do is basically get only my subject in here and everything else in the screen black. So in the chroma key portion here that we're doing with the Ultra key, I'm going to try and make the green area that we had before as black as possible. Okay, so there's a couple of different controls to do that. So I'm going to go, first of all, to matte generation here, twirl that down, and I'm going to head to the pedestal control. All right, I'm going to twirl that down, and I'm going to pull the slider all the way over to the right here. And as I do, you can see the black area gets deeper and richer and fills the area of where that green screen was much better. You can see there's still an area up here in the corner that will need to be addressed in a different way, but we'll talk about that when we start masking. But we've definitely increased the effectiveness of the removal of the green in these areas that are close to our subject here. I'm going to switch back to composite view here. And here we go. Now, there are a couple of issues that I want to draw to your attention here. I'm going to actually zoom in a bit here. Let's go to, I don't know, 150. And maybe we'll go down a little bit. Let's go down to 100. And you can see, zoomed in like this, there's kind of a rough edge along his shoulder here. His ear looks a little funky. He looks a little bit cut out. And the reason is because we have not totally effectively removed everything from the background yet. There are little artifacts left on him that we want to get rid of. So we're going to move to another control, the matte cleanup control, twirl that down. And there's a couple different things that we want to use in here. Number one, the choke control. I'm going to twirl that down and watch what happens along his shoulder and his ear here when I crank this up a bit. You can see that that weird line reduces and disappears. Okay, now you don't want to go too far with this because you can see his ears start to disappear, the side of his head starts to go away. So you have to be careful. So we're trying to find a balance between removing that weird edge and not removing too much from our subject. So it looks like I went to about 38 on that. Now the next control is the soften control, and that will actually take these areas that are a little bit jagged along the edge of our subject here and soften them up. So I'm going to crank that up a little bit, and you can see that that jagged sharp edge kind of goes away and it gets nice and soft. I'm going to go with about 25 on that, I think. All right. Nice. Cool. Okay, so let's go back to our fit view here. And our subject's looking pretty good. Very nice. All right, my friends, this concludes the chroma key portion of our chroma key masking and effects video lesson series. So I'll see you in the next video where we talk about masking.